It's simple. Just press the sport button, discreetly positioned below the stereo, mash the throttle and hang on. 10 seconds of turbo overboost pumps up the torque by another 60 Newton meters. The fastest supercar on the road gets even quicker. Fastest supercar? Well, maybe not. But 0 to 62 miles per hour in 3.9 seconds is still pretty outstanding. And even though 200 miles per hour isn't yet possible, 192 will do very nicely, thank you. What this latest 480 brake horsepower incarnation of the 911 Turbo does very well is make so much of its performance envelope available to so many drivers. It is simply far easier to move towards the upper reaches of the performance envelope than it is with any rival. Four-wheel drive helps, but so too does the prodigious torque that only turbocharging can provide. The result is instant performance and tons of it, always on tap. That thrust in the back when you go for broke is impressive enough for the driver, but the passenger alongside will quickly pass through fear and onto a different level entirely. So the 911 Turbo is stunningly quick, and at the highest speeds it remains rock solid and arrow straight. But it isn't quite perfect. That overboost button stiffens up the suspension at the same time, and it can unsettle the Porsche more than is comfortable. But never mind. So good is the suspension in the regular setting that the sport mode is probably best left for track days. The same goes for the 6 grand ceramic brake option. While there's no doubt that they are massively effective in extreme use, the regular setup, 6-pot calipers up front, 4-pot behind, stops the 911 just fine. The Turbo will understeer, though this is likely to be noticeable only when punching too hard, too soon, in slower corners. Otherwise, the handling is quite benign, and you have to be trying extremely hard to get even a twitch out of the back end. Razor-sharp power steering helps fine-tune the feeling of control. The sheer level of speed that you get to carry on roads of all varieties is truly mesmerising. Speed limits withstanding, the 911 Turbo scythes through bends and then gobbles up the next straight so quickly that until your ear is attuned to the sound of 7,000 RPM, you'll bounce off the rev limiter before you've reached down for the next change. Now in its 6th generation, the Turbo takes the wider body from the recently launched Carrera 4. It adds some striking air scoops with integrated LED indicators, high-mounted tailpipes and redesigned side air intakes behind the rear doors. The essential turbo double-decker rear wing rises automatically to increase high-speed stability, just like the old model. But this time around, the in-your-face feature is those 19-inch forged alloy wheels, all with polished outer surfaces and titanium-coloured paintwork inside. Comfort is notably good for a supercar. You get sports seats that are both cosy and firm. The Turbo rides well, particularly with the active suspension in its regular setting. There's a degree of practicality too, with a reasonable front boot and fold-down rear seats that double up as a large luggage shelf. But who really cares about practicality? The 911 Turbo can live with the best from Ferrari, Aston Martin and Bentley. It's so willing to give up its maximum performance that it's hard to argue against its claim to be the quickest car in the world. As for good points, well, there's the awe-inspiring, never-ending acceleration, terrific four-wheel drive chassis, and everyday comfort and user-friendliness. On the downside, you can't get the overboost without the hard suspension. The ceramic brakes are a waste of time for road use, and you'll never get 4 in, despite the rear seats. It's simple. Just press the sport button, discreetly positioned below the stereo, mash the throttle and hang on. 10 seconds of turbo overboost pumps up the torque by another 60 Newton meters. The fastest supercar on the road gets even quicker. Fastest supercar? Well, maybe not, but 0 to 62 miles per hour